Okay. Well, hello. My name is Tanya Augsburger, and I am the Adult Services Coordinator with the Bluffton Public Library. And I'd like to welcome everybody here as we begin tonight's program, which is, as you already know, Make It Your Business, Setting Up a Side Hustle. This program is presented in collaboration with the Bluffton Center for Entrepreneurs, and we at the library would definitely like to thank the BCE for working with the library and making this program available to our patrons. And just so you are probably already aware, we are recording, and this will be posted on our website later on, so you can go back to reference it. And without further ado, I will turn the mic over to Paula Scott, who is our Executive Director for the BCE. Paula?
Thank you, Tanya. Appreciate your being here. And I want to introduce our entrepreneur guests. And so we're going to need to let Zoom take control of the camera. So let me see if I can do this in order. Brendan, if you would just say hello.
Hello.
Brendan is from Revive Coffee Company, and I'm going to have each of our entrepreneurs talk about a different area of how you start up your business. We're also joined by Jenny Frankard of Rustic Bendz.
Hello.
Hi, Jenny. Thanks for joining us. And Pete Mackey from Ottawa Odd Jobs.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, Pete. All right, so I'm going to do a little switching here. Okay, so that Brendan and I can start with talking about, okay, so I want to start a business. Okay, so here's the one I was thinking of the other day. I have a pair of scissors. Does that mean that I can just go ahead and start a haircutting business? Well, no, I can't. You have to have special permissions for different types of businesses. Brendan, in foods, what kind of things do people need to know about selling a food?
Yeah, so coffee is probably one of the easier things to sell as far as a cottage food product because it's not hazardous, so it doesn't need to be refrigerated. It doesn't have like raw things necessarily. And so we kind of get off easy. But other things, you know, like I know like the lady that sells dried fruit, I think she has to have she has to make sure the fruit is dried because it can't be like moist or something like that because it's considered a hazardous food product. So we basically what we have to do, we have to have a label that states our business's name, the contents of the product. So for us, it's 100% Arabica coffee beans. So that's easy for us as well. And then you also have to have the net weight of the product and a statement saying this product was home produced and then the address that it was produced at. Am I forgetting anything as far as that goes, Paula?
No, I think that sounds good. And we're going to have a sheet here with links to websites. So if like you are interested in starting a food business, we'll have resources for our viewers. So I'm curious to know, were you roasting coffee for a long time before it became a business?
Probably about a year and a half. I started in a whirly pot over a campfire, just for fun, and started getting more involved in it and wanted a bigger roaster. So I got just a little fluid airbed roaster. So it uses hot air to spin the beans around and rotate them so they don't just sit and get burnt. And it would take me 2 hours to roast a pound of coffee. That is a long time when people want to buy like a pound of coffee from you just to try it. And so we had family members and stuff that were starting to ask if they could buy a pound of coffee. And I'm like, this takes all of my evening when I get off work. This is a little ridiculous. And so my wife and I sat down and we were like, this could either really be something that we pursue, or it could just be a hobby and I'll stick with the 4-ounce roaster. And ultimately we decided to roast on a bigger scale. And so we actually started a GoFundMe because we didn't have the kind of money it takes to buy a coffee roaster, because they're not cheap. And had an amazing response just from people around us that saw the opportunity that starting a business like that would bring. And we actually raised enough to buy our roaster, our first 150-pound bag of coffee, and everything else that we needed to get started, like our bags and everything. And so that was the birth of our business.
And now, how many places is your coffee available?
5 or 6, or yeah, I think 5 or 6. So we supply the Twisted Whisk in Bluffton. You can buy our coffee at the Dough Hook. I know Youth for Christ did a fundraiser with us, and they were selling it at the Black Lab. Their special blend that we did for them was at the Black Lab. And then I think they had it one other place, but I don't remember which other store that they had it at. And then we also send coffee up to Pettisville, to Das Isenhaus. And then where else?
Are you in multiple farmers markets?
Yeah, No, we just do the Bluffton one right now. A lot of the other ones are like start too early in the day for me to be able to go. So that's just how it is sometimes.
So any words of advice for people who are saying, do I go into business? Should I stick with a hobby? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely calculate the cost of your time that you're going to have to put into it if it's a actual business. There's a lot of times, a lot of weeks where Anna and I are up until 11 or 12 a.m. Roasting coffee for the farmers market or something like that, because we have kids and we have work and, life. So, yeah, definitely look at the cost if you're willing to sacrifice things in order to have your business grow. And then, you have to really love what you're doing. I know several people that are in business just because they have a business degree or they thought it would be fun and then it didn't end up being that for them. And you start to lose the passion. They start to lose the passion for it. And I think that's really sad because if you start a business, it should be something that you love and something that you can pursue and not get tired of. So I don't know. That's kind of the advice that I would give.
Yeah.
Or and businesses can be for seasons too. I've learned that too. Like sometimes a business that you start is for 3 or 4 years and then it ends, and that's okay too. To find another passion and to go after that is good too.
I have certainly learned from talking to different business people that maybe they'll get their feet wet with one thing, and one great idea might lead to a better idea. So that's certainly possible. It doesn't always necessarily fly on the first try. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
All right. So now we're going to turn to Jenny Frankart, who is from the Bluffton area. And just doing my switching here. Jenny, I think I have to ask you to start your video. There we go. Okay, great. Oh, and one thing I quickly wanted to point out. I'm going to give you a link for this State of Ohio website. They have hundreds of kinds of businesses listed. If you want to know what permits are required for a particular business, they even have one for butterfly farming. Seriously, butterfly farm? If you need to know what's required, they will tell you. Contact the Ohio Department of Agriculture, Division of Plant Industry, and find out about the regulations for insects. I mean, it's very specific. So welcome, Jenny. I thought we'd turn now to questions about sales tax and what happens when you go to a craft show or something like that. What kind of insurance do you need to have ready, and those kinds of issues. But okay, let's start with, how did you create a jewelry business? Oh, okay, let me unmute you. Or let me ask you to unmute yourself.
Hey, that better? It really just started, I wanted a spoon ring. It was kind of neat, something we found in some costume jewelry of my grandma's my daughter found. So it was like, okay. So we just started with figuring out how to get that done. And I figured out how to make a ring, and I've been figuring things out on my own, kind of just trial and error for about 6 years now, and making other things.
So tell us a little bit about sales tax. It's county-based.
Yes.
You get one vendor's license. How does that work?
I have one vendor's license for the state of Ohio. So every place I go to, I have to figure out what county I'm in and then charge that sales tax at that time. So then there are different times depending on how much actually you have as an income. You can go monthly, quarterly, every half year. So it'd be twice a year, or 3 times a year, or 12 times a year. You'd pay your sales tax. And then when you get on there, you have a special number. You're given that tax ID number when you get your vendor's license, and you just file. I file twice a year because I don't have a lot of income. But when you get in there, you have to keep things separate, knowing I kind of have a spreadsheet, knowing I was in Allen County or I was in Hancock County, and then I add it all up for that 6 months, and then you let them know exactly how much you earned, and then usually my calculations are wrong, but when you put that in there, the state tells you exactly what they want, so that's what I end up doing is what they tell me, because it's just easier to not get in trouble that way. So just twice a year for me, it's pretty easy.
And are there any things that you learned by trial and error? Any things you wish you'd known when you got started?
The sales tax things is kind of would better to know a little bit more about that. That was just kind of like you said, the state of Ohio, they do have a lot of information if you go to their website to learn. Just talking to other vendors when you go to a sale and just ask them something, or just in general conversation, it's just kind of nice to hear their issue and then you learn from their issue. I like to talk to them and find out things like that. It makes it easier, and then just learn from them, and then they can learn from you too.
Right. And I know from the Bluffton Farmers Market and from our local Arts and Crafts Festival that insurance is also a need. And that surprises people sometimes. They're like, what do you mean you're going to ask me for insurance? How have you handled that? Do you have a specialized policy, or does it work through homeowners, or what do you suggest?
I have a specialized policy. I called my insurance guy that I've been with forever and told him, this is what I'm planning on doing. This is what I'd like to do. But then when I'm filling out applications, I'm seeing they're asking for some type of insurance. So he actually got me hooked up. He knew what I was doing. He needed to know what I was doing or what I was making, what I was selling. If it would be in my home or if it was outside of my home. Just general questions like that is what he asked. And they mostly have a specific amount that they want you insured through. And it's basically kind of just a liability insurance. It's not covering any of my products. It's not covering my tables or anything that I own myself or what I'm making. It's just covering me if someone decides to trip and fall in this space. It's taking the liability away from the event planners, I think, in my little area in case they fall or mishap happens in my space. So, and then this is also going to help protect me personally. So if something would happen, it wouldn't be my house and everything I own going with it. You know what I'm saying? It's going to help protect the business itself then too.
Right. Yeah. So when I was setting up this event, I was like, these are some pretty dry, straightforward topics. Let's talk to people who can tell you really from a personal angle why they're important, because they are the nuts and bolts. You really can't do without them. So where can we find you this summer, this fall? What kind of sales are you currently doing?
Right now they're pretty slim and we're not allowed to be in very large groups of people. So with the Bluffton last weekend with the
the Discovery Days, that was great. Also, I am in 2 stores in Findlay. I have my jewelry displayed and for sale. Creative Fringe is one of the stores on Main Street, and then there's the Thistle Exchange out on Township Road 99. I'm also in a store in Lipstick, Simply Unique Boutique. And when the Log House over here next to me, or not too far out of town, Bluffton, when they open, if she does open in the fall, I do have some things in there. So I am trying any kind of event that opens up. I'm signing up for whatever I can in the crafts. They keep getting pushed back. So every once in a while, if I'm home, I'm trying to set up my trailer out in the front yard, hoping that someone would stop. I think in any advertisement, I think is good, regardless if someone actually stops. It kind of sparks their interest when they see the sign, they see a trailer. What's that? Just money isn't always what's helping you grow. It's just people interested in what you're doing and who you are. I thought something that you had that was really eye-catching were the teapots or kettles with chimes made out of silverware. Those are super charming.
Oh, well, thank you. That's what the silverware that doesn't have the really pretty patterns that aren't earrings or bracelets, they end up getting made into a wind chime. And I kind of kept with the kitchen theme with keeping with teapots and coffee pots and things like that are still kind of kitchen utensils to go with the silverware.
Great. Well, thank you so much for talking to us about those ways to get your business started. And I will have contact information in the description for this as a YouTube video. I'll have those descriptions for our guests as well. Thanks, Jenny.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on now to Ottawa Odd Jobs. And Pete Mackey, let me do my switching here. There's Pete. Howdy. So I know Pete from our business plan competition and have really enjoyed seeing his business, Ottawa Odd Jobs, grow. But what kind of surprised me, Pete, was how really new your business is. Tell us a little bit about, I need to make sure your mic is on. Tell us a little bit about your business.
So yeah, I actually started publicly getting customers at the first of the year, and officially became an LLC actually October last year. So it's definitely a new business. It's going very well, and enjoying it, but that's that's where we're at now.
So you are Ottawa Odd Jobs, and I know a lot of people are just, Joe Smith, contractor. What made you decide to brand your business?
I put a lot of thought into the planning of being handyman business, and actually a lot of what I learned was from handymanstartup.com. It's been a real good source for me to understand a lot of the aspects that I wouldn't have thought of otherwise. And he had kind of a guide for picking a name, and he had 7 things to make sure your name is. A few things like easy to say, which Odd Jobs I think is, because Ottawa is local, we can say it easily. Maybe not everybody else, but make sure it's unique. It seems like it's standing out pretty well. Clarity. I'm not sure if Odd Jobs is the most clear. I have a lot of customers or people on the street that ask what are Odd Jobs, but I've sort of turned that into my Facebook marketing campaign, that I just answer that question with the photos online, and it's just it worked out well as far as that goes. Also, he encourages it being area specific. I'm not seeing a lot of value in the term Ottawa in my name, quite frankly. It was easier as far as finding a name and registering it with the state. I did need to add something. I couldn't just be Odd Jobs. So that is a reason why Ottawa was added. But one important part of my business is cutting down travel time for efficiency matters and whatnot. So adding Ottawa to my business name was important because I do want to stay very local, and almost implied discouraging like Finley and Lima from calling, because I get plenty of calls from both, but I have to turn them down because I'm not going that far. But
yeah. I have learned to appreciate, even with these meetings, how much travel time can bite into productivity. And so I totally get that.
Yeah, and being a service and weighing my hours, and although I don't technically bill hourly, I still have to. I'm trying to be efficient here. It's a big deal when you have to drive 25 minutes to your job. That's a whole nother hour that isn't getting paid for.
Right. Something I wanted to point out here is that if you wanted to just start a business as Paula Scott, web writer, you can register as a sole proprietor, and you don't have to, you don't have to have a formal name. But if you want to call yourself Ottawa Odd Jobs, you do have to register that with the state. So that's a really important distinction. And we will have a link for that on our sheet. We have a question from one of our attendees. Can you tell us briefly the benefit of being an LLC and why you chose that form of business?
Yeah, the primary reason, my wife and I, we're pretty, we like to be safe with our financial decisions, and we will take the safe route, even if it's a little bit more expensive or something up front. But the biggest thing is we didn't want to put our personal property at risk if something went wrong with the business. And I do also have insurance, and insurance that protects the if something goes wrong on a job and damage is done to a property. I have insurance too, but this is okay if insurance can't cover it. Worst case is the business goes bankrupt, not Pete and Katie. That's bottom line. What we really valued was, you know what, and Grant, we got a lot into the business too, but we got to keep this house over our head first and foremost.
Absolutely. Yeah. So LLC standing for Limited Liability Corporation. Yeah. And we are going to like tonight, the time flies by. We're going to cover just, you know, a limited number of things. But we're going to provide links, links to the state websites, links to the Ohio SBDC, Small Business Development Center at Road State, the SBA.gov. If you want help finding information, we can point you in the right direction. Any last recommendations, Pete, for people who are saying, do I do it? Do I start a business?
Part of it, I think, is the huge need of what I'm doing. I'm really enjoying having this business and having the opportunity. The being so new, it's tough to really say too much more than that. But if it is something that, I mean, this has been my hobby pretty much all my life, is fixing up houses, and so it is something I do oddly to relax, and that makes it real easy. And there's I just had the thought earlier today, because I got done with the job and I went and helped my dad on a job, and it's the same thing whether I'm helping out family or not, but it's felt like I've been working every hour of the day for quite a while, but it's something I enjoy. So that makes it real easy to enjoy this business. Kind of agreeing with Brandon there. If I didn't enjoy doing this, yeah, I would have been out of it by now. But the fact that this is really could easily be my hobby, I'm grateful that I figured out a way to make it profitable. But that when yeah, I mean, that's the key, is finding a hobby you like and figuring out a way to make it profitable.
Indeed. Thank you so much. Yeah, it is really wonderful to have a job that you are excited about getting up and doing every day. And I think that's why a lot of people say, hey, I'm going to make my own job. Here we go. It's really wonderful when that happens. Thank you, Pete. We just have one more main topic now, and that is the lovely topic of taxes. And I'm going to be fairly brief about this, but you do have to start thinking about income taxes when you start a business. And the IRS wants to know when you make more than $400 a year in self-employment. So basically what you have to do is sit down and figure out, yes, has this gone beyond a hobby? Am I actually making money? So check out, go over your profit and loss. And then the feds, the state, the local, they will want you to pay quarterly tax estimates. They don't really want you to say, okay, I will wait till the end of the year, find out how much I made, and then take care of it in a lump sum. If you're employed and you have some withholding, that might cover it and you could be okay, but you have to make sure that you're not liable, that you won't have any penalties for late payments if you neglected to file quarterly estimates. So I'll also have a link, a couple links to state and federal pages on our sheet. I should also mention that what the federal government is collecting is income tax as well as Social Security and Medicare. So a couple important points on that. All right, so now I think we can go ahead. If anybody wants to ask us a question, go ahead and we can turn your cameras on. I'm gonna ask you if you want to start your videos. And you can control that. And does anybody want to go ahead and unmute yourselves and ask a question?
I'll go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
I guess this is a question based on something I heard Brandon say and a little bit about taxes. So when you have those startup costs and you have some investors or people providing that money to you, how is that recognized in income versus taxes, and how does that all play out, in the startup costs of everything?
So Brendan, did you hear that? He was wondering, I think, about the Gofundme and how that worked as income.
I don't. That's a good question. We just put it out there, and people just kind of like, they gave it as sort of like, "Hey, we support you," not as like actual income, I guess. I don't know. Does that make sense? Like they just gifted us. I don't know how to.
And we can go ahead and look that up and come and get back to you on an answer with that.
Yeah.
I know you have rent and business, and if you're trying to provide a spot for your business that's outside of the home, I'm just trying to decide how do we, so any investment, any gifts, is that, I don't know, taxable, recordable, that kind of thing. So
well, that sounds like a good question for the BCE has a board including accountants and bankers, and so that's something I can definitely get back with you on that topic.
Mm-hmm. Along the same lines, I'm curious, did you offer any type of incentive for the GoFundMe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious.
So everybody that gave, like the first 10 people that gave or something like that, I think it was like 10, got a free pound of coffee every month for a year. So that was an incentive to giving as well. And so like GoFundMe's, I guess, are kind of, and Kickstarters and that kind of thing are, I don't know how that plays out, Aaron, exactly, but yeah, for the first 10 people or whatever, however many it was, I don't remember now. It's been so long ago. It feels like they got a perk if they wanted it. So lots of them were like, "Oh no, we don't want it." I'm like, "You just gave me money. Like, let me buy coffee." Yeah. So.
And we are always looking for new topics for our next event, and I think you just gave me a great one. Yeah. All right.
what do you all do for advertising for or websites, or do you rely mostly on word of mouth, or do you primarily use social media like Facebook, or do you go beyond that?
I'm mostly Facebook, trying to figure out, get a website created. I use Square for when people pay. So Square has their own website that I can sell through and through their website and everything, and makes it a little bit easier. But I'm not real good at figuring that stuff out. So, and plus it's like, there's like a monthly fee for that. And if I don't have the income, it's kind of hard to make sure that it's something I want to go ahead and do. So right now things have been a little slow for me.
We use Facebook a lot. My brother and I are working on a website. He's also a graphic designer and stuff. And so it's a little perk of having a brother that is good at all that kind of stuff. And word of mouth, we have lots of friends who are just like, hey, come try this coffee. They have it. One of the biggest, I guess, advertisements when people have other people over and they're like, hey, drink this coffee. And then they're like, oh, it's good. Where did you get that? You know? So we don't have to do anything with that. We just roast the coffee and other people advertise. And that's nice.
Yeah, I think we have some geographic advantages in that the grapevine really works in our area, and Facebook booths go pretty far. Like if you pay $5 or $10 to push your Facebook content out, it goes further in this area than it might in a big metropolitan area.
Yeah, that's true too. Like I think the other day we boosted a post and like I think 50 or 100 people had seen it, and by the end of the week, I don't know, like 3,000 people had seen it. So it just depends too on when you post stuff, obviously, because of the logarithm can't say that word right now. Logarithms that Facebook uses. Like if you post it at a certain time, people are more likely to actually see it and that kind of thing too. So.
Yeah, I'm hoping to have some more content regarding websites, because I think they can be a fairly big hurdle unless you're someone who is going to maintain their own website and are pretty comfortable doing that. It's hard to maintain one when you rely on someone else, unless you can. That's what I'm looking for. I am looking for that entry-level web designer who can really serve small businesses well.
I just find that it's difficult when you're trying to start a small business and you have to be your own accountant, your own bill pay guy, the grunt work, the everything. So, and I guess that's where it comes from. And I know I'm dominating the questions, but Pete, I was wondering about clients and how do you deal with a small business? It's a little bit different than somebody just like buying coffee or buying some crafts. It's a little bit like my route would be more having a clientele base. How do you deal with like payment and sending bills out, and then non-payment or people not being happy with service, or how is that taken care of?
So yeah, I've had to deal with a lot of that. To start, I did end up going with QuickBooks. I do think that has a lot of value. I wanted to get something that I had actually originally tried Quicken with the business feature and I didn't like it, but QuickBooks is able to do credit card payments, which I thought was going to be very beneficial, and quite frankly, most of my customers don't use it. But majority do prefer paying it with a check, but I do net 30 terms so I send them, if they don't pay the day of service, which most do, I send them an invoice and via email through Quickbooks, which makes it real simple. And kind of my personal policy and commitment is I do that before I put the car in drive, because I'm able to do it on my phone, get it done, and not worry about it and not forget about it, and let QuickBooks take care of the rest. That's been really tried to make sure I stay on top of making sure I get paid, and QuickBooks does track that. As far as the not payment, that's going to be, I think, another accounting question that I have to ask eventually, but I'm fairly certain it just gets written off as bad debt, so it eventually ends up being an expense, but we'll find out what that ends up being. I have one of those that I'll have to learn from my accountant how to handle that. Did I miss any of the question?
No, that was good. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Well, if you do decide that you have other things that you'd like to ask, please feel free to reach out to me at blufftonce@gmail.com. I will share contact information for all of our guests. And we will be having more brown bag events, and we also have something called coffee hours. Coffee hours have been a little quiet in July, noon on Tuesdays and 6 p.m. on Thursdays. I hold those times open as best I can for Zoom meetings. We can have a Zoom meeting almost any time, but those are hours that I say, okay, let's do Zoom meetings then. So please stay in touch. When you talk about loving your job, I love getting to hear what everybody is doing. I think we're in a really great area. These small cities and villages that we are near and in are pretty fantastic, and I love giving everybody a hand and finding resources for you. So Tanya, are you still with us? Do you want to wrap up with anything for the library?
Since we're doing so much, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, since we're doing so much online because of the whole COVID-19, I wanted to share with you guys some of our research databases. There's one that is actually new. I just shared the link in the comments in case you guys wanted to see that now. There's one that is new called the Small Business Reference Center. That will have business videos, some forms, handy forms that you might need, different tools, and also some ebooks. We also have a link there for Lynda, or also known as LinkedIn Learning. You may need a LinkedIn account with that one, but that has a lot of free courses. You can learn how to use various computer softwares, some programming languages, brush up on some of your tech skills, all kinds of things. That's a relatively new resource that we have. There's also a vocational career collection, which depending on what area you're looking at, it may have something for you in there. And also another thing that might be useful is there's a link in the database list there for Ohio legal help. So if you have some sort of legal issue and you're not sure what to do, it kind of makes the different things easy to understand. There's a search box and you can kind of type in your issue and it will give you advice as to what your next step should probably be. It will also link you to local people that you can contact for help if you need help there. And then we also have, of course, access here to our ebooks through Libby and Overdrive. And if you want something, a physical book, you can do that through us, through our curbside pickup services that we have available right now too. So.
Oh, and something that I'm excited about is Fridays at noon, the library invites you, if you need help finding some information, Ask the Librarian is a regular feature, and I sure find that helpful. I love to do research, but every now and then it's just like, I don't know how to, I'm not using the right words, I'm not looking in the right places, and it's great to have the library staff there to help with that. All righty. Well, I think then that we're going to say goodnight, and I'll post the video for access through the library as well as through our Facebook and BlufftonEntrepreneurs.com. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and I hope I'll see you soon.